to announce the housekeeping arrangements.
Thank you, Chair. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, please take instruction from staff and stewards. The assembly point is at Tudor Square. Please can I request everyone to switch mobile devices to silent mode so as not to disturb the conduct of the meeting. The meeting today will be webcast and the recording will also be available for people to view later through the Council's website. It is also possible that Sheffield Live TV will record and rebroadcast this meeting. While the meeting is open to the public, photography, video and sound recording of the proceedings is permitted. However, the Chair has discretion to withdraw or suspend this permission, for example, if the recording is disrupting the conduct of the meeting or is being undertaken in a manner which could capture personal information, or in the event that a member of the public participating in a meeting objects to being recorded. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Abby. I'm now going to ask each member in turn to introduce themselves, and I'll say at the start that I'm Mike Chaplin. I'm a councillor for Southey Ward, and I'm joint chair of this committee. John.
Hello everyone, I'm John Wright, I'm councillor for Walkley Ward.
Councillor Nigat Basharat from Netherhead and Sharrow Ward.
I'm Mark Whittaker. I'm councillor for Stocksbridge and Upper Don. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Councillor Tony Downing, member for Mosborough.
Gareth Slater, councillor for Southey.
Good afternoon, I'm Marianne Elliott, councillor for Gleadless Valley.
Henry Nottage, councillor for Hillsborough Ward.
Glynis Chapman, councillor for Mosborough Ward.
Barbara Masters, councillor for Ecclesall Ward and substitute for councillor Richard Williams.
And I'm Cliff Woodcraft, I'm councillor for Fulwood Ward.
Thank you all. We have, I think it's 7 apologies. No, we have a number of apologies today, and Abby is going to take you through them.
Thank you, Chair. We've got apologies for absence from Councillor Nikki Belfield, and her sub is Councillor John Wright. I've had apologies from Councillor Janet Riddler, and her sub is Councillor Gareth Slater. Apologies from Richard Williams, and his sub is Councillor Barbara Masters, and we've also had apologies from Councillor Alan Woodcock.
And we hope that both Alan Woodcock and Janet Riddler will get well soon. Both are poorly at the moment. Next item is item 3, exclusions of the press and public. Oh, there are no items today on that. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any members who wish to declare an interest in any of the items of business on the agenda? If so, please can you state that now? Yes, Barbara?
Can I just check it's not necessary to say that I'm a sort of a Blades, it's a supporter, card-carrying supporter. I'm just checking it was a formality yesterday, but I would like to sort of make it clear.
Well, I'm sure around this table there are a number of people here who've got support one team or another, and may even have season tickets to those clubs. But I do not believe it's relevant to this application unless Victoria is going to tell me otherwise.
As long as you're able to keep an open mind, yeah, I don't see that being a problem. Thank you.
I take it that's the case in Barbara.
I am open-minded about this, but yes, thank you for clarifying.
Item 5 is the minutes of the previous meeting, which you'll see on from page 9 onwards. Are members happy to approve these as a correct record? These are the minutes for the Planning and Highways Committee that was held on the 15th of October this year. Can I take silence as affirmative? Thank you. Item 6, site visits. The date for the next site visit is in the members' diaries. It will be Monday the 9th of December between 10 and 12, or depends really however many site visits we get to do that day. Item 7, applications under various acts and regulations. We have one application to hear today, and that is item 7A, application number 24-02515/full, Sheffield United Football Club at Derek Dooley Community Centre on Weston View, Sheffield 10, S10 5BZ. And over to Andrew to present the report.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. My name is Andrew Burton. I'm a team leader for the North Area team that works for the Development Management Service, Sheffield City Council. It's this particular site. It's located on the southeast edge of Crooks, on the road heading down towards Broom Hill. It consists of a single-storey sports pavilion building that's previously housed a gym, and it also has on the site 2 AstroTurf football pitch games court areas which are enclosed by high-level perimeter fencing. The 2 different pitches are different size to one another. The one on the south being approximately 3 times as large as a smaller multi-use games court to the north. The pitches are set within a broader area of green space, which also includes grassed areas. It's on Weston View, which runs off the main Crooks Road. The centre also includes a car park, which is located to the north of the building. Further to the north beyond that is Hadfield Covered Reservoir. The site's located in a predominantly residential area, with properties neighbouring at the site on 3 sides. The residential properties most closely related is a 4-storey block of apartments, which are located on Weston View to the west. The supporting information explains that the facility has been closed since the COVID-19 pandemic due to the commercial challenges associated with the attracting block bookings when the pitches cannot currently operate during the winter months and during hours of darkness. This slide shows a proposed site layout plan. It's proposed to install 12 8-metre high LED lighting columns to illuminate the pitches in the locations that are marked blue on this image. 8 of those would serve the games court to the south, and 4 would be located on the small games court to the north. The application originally sought to enable the floodlights to operate until 10 p.m. in the evening. However, during the course of the application being considered, the applicants have agreed to less extensive hours and are agreeable to limiting the illumination times until 9 p.m. Monday to Friday and 7 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Those times match the operating times for the pitches that are already allowed to take place if it was operating during hours of daylight. The applicants have, however, requested that an additional 15 minutes be allowed on top to allow for equipment to be collected after the sessions have finished, which is reflected in the proposed conditions. Anticipated users are due to be local grassroots clubs, youth teams and local schools. This slide shows some of the detail of the proposed lighting columns and the lighting heads. The columns would be slimline structures that would be 8 metres in height. The columns would be finished with black, which reflects the finish of the street lamps in the area. The head lamps would be fitted with backspill guards to minimise glare and spillage. The supporting documentation explains that the LED lighting now proposed would utilise the latest technology compared with previous proposals and would allow for more directional lighting and substantially less light spill. I'm just going to get to this one next. Because of those factors, the applicant has explained that the proposal would achieve an 80% reduction in lighting levels at the closest dwellings compared to previous proposals. That would mean that the light levels at the nearest dwelling are predicted to be under 2 lux lighting units, which would be compliant with more onerous standards, which are typically required in dark environments such as national parks, rather than the type of well-inhabited urban area where the site is located. This slide shows 2 different cross-section plans showing the proposed 8-metre high lighting columns. The top one is east to west and the bottom one is north to south. Probably the main thing to appreciate from both of those cross-section plans is the slimline nature of the lighting columns, and that their height is sufficiently restrained and limited for them not to appear unduly dominant or tall in the context of surrounding buildings and trees. It should be noted as well that the pitches are set down on a lower level than the neighbouring road and pavilion building, which would assist with limiting their impact. This is an up-to-date photo showing the view of the existing sports pitches as seen from the southwest and western view. This is the larger of the 2 enclosed sports pitches. The disused and deteriorating condition of the pitches can just about be detected on the photo. This is the view of the pitches from the Overspill car park for the centre, which is looking southeast. The photo illustrates that the pitches sit well within a wider area of green space and integrate relatively well with their surroundings, with the fencing enclosures being green powder coated. The surroundings are relatively spacious to neighbouring buildings and include vegetation as a buffer. This is the view of the pitches from the north of the site near to the covered reservoir. The pitches are positioned in a central location within the overall area of green space and are set down lower than the pavilion building and the 4-storey block of apartments which are on the right hand side of the image. You can also might be able to see a very tall 5G phone mast which is located on Crooks Road, and all the mature trees which provide the backdrop to the site from some of the sides. This photo shows the view looking west back at the sports pitches. Here the single-storey sports centre building can be observed positioned directly behind the pitches. Set behind those are the 4-storey apartment block buildings located on Western View. The report explains that 15 objections have been received from members of the public and 4 supports. The main objection points are harm to residential amenity through light pollution and noise, biodiversity impacts and highway safety. In addition, it's pointed out that previous planning applications for floodlighting at the site have been resisted by the council. Those in support welcome that the proposals would see the pitches being brought back into reuse, and they promote the associated community benefits. In addition, support is expressed for the LED lighting technology now proposed compared with previous proposals. And it's also felt that the lighting would benefit security in the area. The committee report explains that the proposal is supported by officers on this occasion, as it would facilitate bringing the pitches back into use and would accord with the aims of numerous UDP and national policies. There's especially those policies which seek to promote healthy lifestyles through the provision of sports facilities. The impacts of the proposals have been considered, including those on residential and visual amenity and biodiversity. In summary, it's considered that the combination of the proposal to utilise the latest technology, LED lighting, and the proposal to limit use to 9 PM in the evenings and during the week and 7 PM at weekends would mean that the impacts of the lighting would be limited and would now fall within acceptable parameters. It's therefore considered the benefits associated with the proposals would outweigh the limited harm that would occur. The recommendation is therefore one of approval, and that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Andrew. Have members got any questions on this? See Mark, then Marianne. Okay. Mark?
You did say, you did mention something about national parks. I didn't quite follow what you were meaning, but do I understand that when you say they include backspill guards, are these of the type which reduces obscuring the night sky, such as those that astronomers are asking for?
Yes, so what you've got is there's some guidance from the Institute of Lighting Professionals, and they've devised various environmental zones. So I think the classification goes from E1 through to E5. The E3 environmental zone is probably the type of area which you would class this in, because that is areas which are sort of within an urban area and built-up areas. But you've got a much more onerous standard, which is E1, and they're the dark sky areas where you have for the likes of national parks. The previous scheme, which was about 10 years ago, that was designed to the E3 standards, but because of the advances in technology with the LED lighting, this current scheme it's been possible to design it to the E1 standards, which are dark sky areas and national parks. So that means that the amount of light spillage that we'll get is drastically reduced compared to those previous proposals. And I think there was that figure of the reduction in light levels compared to the previous proposals being about 80% or even greater reduction compared to that previous scheme.
Marianne, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, just looking through the objections, I think, you know, the residents have got some legitimate concerns about light pollution, obviously because there's going to be lighting where there wasn't before, obviously recognising that the specifications are obviously much better than previous applications. So taking all that into consideration, just so that I can weigh up the legitimate concerns of the residents with the community benefits, which are clear. Can I just ask a bit about how it's going to be used? And sorry if I've missed something. So is it will it be local youth teams and schools that you said largely that'll be using it? So it's basically open for the community.
Yes, that's correct. So that's the information that's been provided given to us from the applicant. So they're saying it's going to be local grassroots teams, youth teams, and they've been in discussions with some schools as well. I mean, the pitches are relatively small, so I would anticipate they'd be more suited to youth teams using the facilities rather than adult ones.
Great. So then it's going to be hired sort of on an hour-by-hour basis, I think I read. So, and because there's the smart switch system, which gives control over each section of the pitch, presumably not necessarily every pitch will be used every night even, so it won't even be on necessarily till 9:15 every night, is that right? It will just be as ad hoc really as it's used.
Yeah, that's correct. So there will be smart technology used with these lights, so that if they haven't got a booking on a section of the pitch, then they can have just the floodlighting set to only illuminate the part of the pitch which is in use. So again, that's another material difference compared with previous applications.
Thanks, that's useful to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The fact that it's hitting the one standard seems more than reasonable for the design of the lighting. But if it was to go ahead and a particular resident is having what they consider an environmental disturbance from the lighting, there's nothing in us giving it planning permission that would preclude that individual resident from pursuing it as an EPS complaint, is there?
That's correct. I mean, we'd hope that with the amount of assessment work that's already gone into these proposals, with the you know, the plans and the reports that's been submitted as part of the planning application, which is predicting that there won't be impacts at neighbouring properties, that those impacts at a harmful level won't transpire. But if they did come to pass, if there was a problem, you know, malfunction with the lights, say, and you know, it would be possible that a complaint could be lodged under statutory nuisance under the Environmental Protection Act, so that would be a complaint that would have to be registered with Environmental Protection Service as opposed to our service. But yes, it would be possible for that to be looked into separately.
And Nigat, you have a question?
Just a few questions. One, just to understand a bit more about the lighting, you mentioned 80%. Am I understanding this right, that the lighting, by having this, the surrounding areas won't be lit as well? That's one question. And also, looking at the number of objections, 15 compared to 4 in support, the concerns that the pictures won't be accessible to the local community. I know you've mentioned schools will have access, but in terms of local community and regarding the expense and working in the community, we already know how difficult some communities and families find accessing sport activities. Absolutely with sport facilities, because the area being made in use. So my question is, in terms of that, how is the people who are actually putting this proposal forward mitigating that to make sure that those vulnerable families can access these services, which we obviously encourage people to use sports activities?
I mean, commercial considerations extend beyond planning, really. That's not, strictly speaking, I'd say, a material planning consideration. I mean, the fact of the matter is, at the moment, the facility it's disused, and it has been since COVID. So you've got facilities here which are just going to waste, which are in a really good location. It's very accessible, very sustainable location. Obviously, this would be a level investment going into facilities to bring them back into use. That I know we've sort of touched on who the applicant is, but they're not intending to use it directly themselves. It's more about letting these pitches out to grassroots teams, youth teams, and to schools. So, yeah, you'd think that because of that, they are expecting it to fully come back into a community type use rather than being used by, say, one of their professional teams. And I think just as well, maybe let's just touch upon the fact that when this application was originally submitted and when some of those objections came in, the proposed hours of use was up until 10 p.m. in the evening. So you can understand why maybe that attracted more objections than where we've ended up with now, where, you know, through discussions and negotiations, we've been able to get them to match it to the times which are already permitted at these pitches for the lights to, you know, the block bookings to effectively finish at 9 p.m. in the evening, Monday to Friday, and then 7 p.m. at the weekends.
Just clarify that lighting.
Yeah, I think that probably the best thing, the slide that I've got on the screen. So it is quite a technical plan, and yeah, I'm not a lighting engineer myself, or someone who works in Environmental Protection Service, but that's got the lux unit levels which are showing on there. So if you can see where it goes black, that's as far as the light spillage would occur, and they have got it down to under 2 lux levels at the nearest residential property, which is, you know, a relatively low level of light units, and it's that 80% reduction that I mentioned compared to when a proposal like this was last on the table approximately 10 years ago. So that is very significant and positive difference compared to previously.
Just for members' benefit, were the lights to be left on, say they weren't being properly managed and they were going on, say, till midnight or whatever, what recourse would local residents have to put that right so that the owners kept the light?
Yeah, I mean, complaints could be lodged with planning enforcement. So yeah, that we'd have options as to whether we served an enforcement notice or a breach of condition notice. But then, as well as that, we might be able to go at it two-pronged, so that if complaints were, you know, as we discussed a bit earlier, under the Environmental Protection Act, you might get lighting at that time constituting a statutory nuisance, for which there's separate powers as well as the planning enforcement option.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think we've exhausted questions. Would members like to comment on the application? Tony?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, having gone on the site visit yesterday, and I can see the state of I mean, obviously these pitches haven't been used since, I think it's prior to COVID. And there's so much take-up and there's so much need for grassroots football and sports facilities. And Sheffield being the city of sport as well, and take that into consideration. And I just think to bring this back into use is a fantastic idea, and I would certainly be, you know, obviously I've listened to some of the questions about lighting and failure to the lights to go off, and I understand that this can be done via the planning enforcement people. I just think this is a great facility, and it's great that it's been brought into use, and I will be supporting it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tony. Barbara?
Thank you, Chair. And yes, it's reiterating what you said, Tony. I mean, sort of, there is a huge need for these facilities in the southwest, and by having them on the doorstep, it actually reduces the need for travel across the city, and that's got to be good for the environment. You know, so and also, sort of, I've read in the documents, it says about the management scheme includes a smart switching system, which means that the lights can automatically be switched off. You know, so that reassures me about the lighting effects on the locals. So, and so there's systems in place to ensure conditions are complied with. So I'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And if I can just briefly add my two penneth, having been out on the site visit with both of you, Tony and Barbara, yesterday, and others, you could see that it will offer so much to the local community. These pitches are in short supply, and in recent years we've been seen a greater take up of football, particularly amongst women and girls as well. And to have this facility, which will be on the doorstep for many people roundabout, I think is only to be commended. So I'm going to suggest at this time that we move to a vote on this. The recommendation from officers is clearly to accept this application. So I'm going to start with John and ask whether you're... Sorry, have I got to... We did, we discussed, sorry, there was a chair's briefing prior to this meeting, and it has been pointed out that we only brought it in during COVID, and prior to COVID we were taking these votes on a show of hands, unless someone particularly wanted it recorded. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands for all those in favour to put your hands up. That to me is unanimous, so I don't think we need to ask for anyone to vote against or to abstain. Thank you all very much for that and for dealing with this so swiftly. Thank you, Andrew. You are free to go. And we just have the law reports and to move on to, which is item 8, record of planning appeal submissions and decisions. And that's on page 27. These are for noting, but if anyone wishes to comment on them, in that case, I will point out that the officers have had success on objecting to several sheet advertising panels, which have been, the applicants wanted them in quite prominent places, which would have been a distraction, particularly to motorists, but also to pedestrians. And I do praise officers for getting those these panels stopped, so that they're not causing an obstruction or distraction to people. There are places where it would be appropriate to have them, but clearly officers have identified where they're not appropriate, and in large part that's been accepted by the planning inspector. Okay, are you all happy to note the report? Thank you all very much, and the date of the next meeting will be on Tuesday the 10th of December at 2 o'clock.